Everyone is either getting an ultimatum or dealing with the fallout of an ultimatum in the latest episode of The Single Life. Let's get into it. Hi guys, welcome back to Nikki Faces Reality. This Single Life episode had so much relationship drama, so let's jump right in to the heated fight between Veronica and Jamal. So we're dealing with the aftermath of that awkward dinner between Veronica, Jamal, Tim, and Luisa. And so Veronica and Jamal are on the car ride back and talking about how even though him and Tim made up, it's still hard to be around someone constantly that used to be with your partner intimately. And so he's like, at the end of the day, Tim is always going to be Veronica's ex. So he brings it up to Veronica. He's like, I try to get past it, but there's just some moments that are very strange and they don't have to be. Like that steak incident where freaking Tim asked Veronica, oh, you know how I like my steak. And it's like, that was unnecessary. So Veronica's like, I know it's weird. I know it's weird. And she keeps saying that she's tired of it too, but she's not offering any solutions. Veronica's attitude is really like, it is what it is. We have to deal with it. But she actually stood by that. Like, it is what it is. You're complaining. Stop it. It would be one thing because I'm like, okay, like, that's her clear stance. But what Veronica's doing is saying, oh, yes, I'm with you. Like, I also think it's a problem. It's so annoying. But then at the same time is a participant in this situation and isn't trying to make any changes to it. Can't be on both sides. So, Veronica has had this stance of it's not that weird, like he's my family, and Jamal's like, no, actually he's your ex. And he affirms that point by being like, you were making such a big deal about telling him that we were official. Like you kept saying that, you were scared to tell him. And Veronica's like, oh, I was scared to tell him because he would be judgmental. And to deflect, she's like, well, you have the same feeling about telling your mom. And he's like, you're comparing Tim to my mother, the woman that birthed me? Like, and she's like, and Veronica's like, Tim's my family. And he's like, yes, Tim is your family, but Tim is also someone you had sex with. You cannot compare Tim to Kimberly. And at this moment, I knew that they really should have put this argument to rest because he wasn't going to back down and she wasn't going to take accountability in this. And I am so upset at this season of Single Life because I like Veronica, and seeing her in this light is kind of upsetting. And like I said, Veronica's not backing down on the Tim thing. She's like, yeah, like, I guess it's weird, but it's a choice that I made and we just have to deal with it. And Jamal's like, okay, it's a choice that you made, then like, let's see how well that goes for you. And I don't know how you guys feel about ultimatums. I have yet to see an ultimatum actually be good. I feel like if someone doesn't want to do something for you, if they do it because you set the ultimatum, there's always going to be this tinge of resent. And in this situation with Veronica, if she's adamant about not changing the situation because she just wants people to adapt to it, then at that point, you as her partner or whoever's dating her has to decide whether or not they want to continue. And if she doesn't end up with Jamal, whoever the next guy is, this issue is going to keep happening. But if she truthfully wants a relationship outside of Tim, she has to bend their relationship. She has to set boundaries. And I think Veronica's stance right now is that she wants her relationship with Tim to remain the same and for whoever's in her life to adapt. And that's not going to happen. And that's what we're seeing with Jamal. She really wants Jamal. She really wants it to work. And Jamal is not someone that's going to bend when he feels uncomfortable. And so that's what we're seeing. And Veronica likes to be chased. She wants to be courted. And she's not liking the fact that they're at odds. So she's going to pick a bigger fight. You want to pick a fight? I'm going to pick a bigger fight. Toxica action right here. And so then Jamal asks Veronica why she feels the need to speak to Luisa on Tim's behalf. And Veronica was like, I was speaking to her in Spanish because that's what she feels comfortable with. And Jamal was like, I'm not referring to the Spanish part. I'm referring to just the act of speaking up for Tim. Do you feel like you're his handler? And so Veronica is not listening to what he's saying. She's stuck on the part of like, I was speaking to Lisa in Spanish because I want her to feel comfortable. I want people to feel comfortable. And if you don't know that about me already, like, that's a problem. And again, that's not what Jamal was referring to. I can't believe I'm defending Jamal, but that's not what Jamal was saying. He was just saying you need to have some awareness of how that makes me feel. And sure, you're trying to make Luisa feel comfortable in Spanish, but that doesn't change the fact that the biggest discomfort here is not the language barrier, it's this dynamic. The overarching problem here is that Tim and Veronica have had for a long time um, a codependency that is an issue. Veronica is pissed, okay? She's like, one, all of their fights have been about Tim. And she's like, everything's about Tim. And a part of me is like, girl, I feel you. You want to be caked up with your man the last night that he's there. But you've literally stuffed Tim through his nostrils. You wanted to have double dates. You wanted to go out to dinners. You wanted them to be besties. So you're going to be surprised that all you're talking about is Tim? You've made it so. It's also funny that I think Veronica really likes that Jamal is so headstrong and stands his ground, but I don't think she liked that he did that with her in this scene. She wanted to be lovey-dovey on your last night, Jamal. She didn't want to be held accountable. How rude. And so Jamal's like, you're gonna be mad all night? And she's like, yep, payback. And it's like, payback for what? You caused this uncomfortable dinner. But in her mind, he started this fight. And it's like, again, if Jamal didn't start this fight, for me, that would be like a sign that he's checked out. I think that the fact that he cares about this means that he does want to be involved with Veronica. If he didn't say anything about it, I feel like he would have been like, I'm gonna hook up with someone when I get back home. But this is someone that he's trying to build with. Her ex is constantly there. And the problem isn't just her ex, the problem is how she acts around her ex. It's all an issue. And Veronica doesn't want to address that she's also part of the issue. That it's not just Tim's presence, it's how she enables him, how she talks about him, how she coddles him, like it's all the things. And so then there's this weird petty moment where Jamal had already told her not to yell at him in the car because she was yelling. Yes, it's the Latina way. It's passionate. It's one of those annoying stereotypes that are true, but it's true. But it doesn't make it okay. But she was yelling at him in the car, and she's doing so again in the house. And he's like, yeah, there's no need to yell at me. Like, you're not, like, I'm not your child. Why are you yelling at me? And she's like, no, you're not my child. That doesn't mean you're a child if I'm yelling. And it's an argument that's going nowhere. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to stop talking. And she goes, fine, I'll stop talking. And then she takes off her mic pack. And he's like, he's stunned that she's so mad because I think he's like, if anyone should be that mad, it's me. And so it's very uncomfortable. And he's like, this is our biggest fight yet. So he's trying to find a way to de-escalate it. She is very upset. So he's like, do you want me to go? And she goes, you're already leaving. And he's like, yeah, but like, do you want me to go right now? And she's like, whatever, grab your stuff. And so it looks like he's about to go leave on a hotel. But if you've ever been toxic, you know what this is. She wanted him to chase her, and he still can. And I know for a fact that's what she wanted, because when she was taking off her mic pack, she was like, oh, well, if we don't talk, then how do you expect to rekindle things? How do you expect to make things up, is what she's saying. It was honestly a petty argument to begin with, but it's something that I think is going to haunt them for the rest of their relationship if she doesn't acknowledge her role in this issue. Um, I want Veronica to be happy. I think that she needs to be realistic about what is possible. And that's where I'm going to leave that. But let's move on to the next. And let's move on to Natalie. Here we're dealing with a fallout of an ultimatum of sorts. I feel like Natalie has been giving Josh ultimatums since they've met, honestly. You guys recall, Natalie has reached her limits in terms of rejection from Josh. She feels like he's not taken any initiative to immerse her into his life. He won't spend holidays with her. She's not allowed in his home. She hasn't met his kids. She just feels like, I moved to California and we have not advanced. So we left her going to the restaurant and we saw her walk in and just gave him the look of death. And so we pick up right there where they left off, and he tries to hug her, and she's like, fully rejects him. She's not having it. And then she goes and sits and is like this. It's almost like an angry teenager. And this man is terrified, and he just compliments her nail polish, and I'm like, Josh, please. And I feel really bad for Natalie, because sometimes when we bulldoze ourselves into situations, they don't always end how we want. Most of the time, they don't end how we want. And she's like, nothing I've done has made me enough for you, which is really heartbreaking. She tells him, you say one thing and your actions show me another. And I thought that moving here would fix that. And so Josh is like, I've been trying. And she cuts him off and she's like, have you been trying? Because I haven't been to your place. Would you say that's trying? And that's not fair. Now, don't get it twisted. 2 years and you don't let me go to your place, it would not fly in a real relationship. However, these two are in two completely different relationships, which is the problem. Okay, like, I feel like it's what I've said before. He's always had these boundaries, and she thought that he would simply change them for her. But that's not how life works. He's always had those boundaries about his kids, his place, and in terms of him not doing much, he helped her with a place. He got her a car. He's helping her with opportunities. I feel like that's a lot for someone that hasn't even told you, I love you, you know? Well, I think she's told him, I love you, but he hasn't told her that. That's a lot to do for someone that you haven't said you love. Obviously, even though he has done a lot, it's not in the ways that she wants, in the ways that she needs. And it gets ugly really fast because she immediately is like, you are a weak man. You are a weak man because you haven't made the moves necessary to put me in your life. And Josh is a very respectful guy because he didn't say anything negative. He didn't give her a dirty look. He didn't get up and leave. He just took it to the chin. Yeah, she was like, I'm a 1 in a million woman and you're treating me like I'm regular and you're weak. And we should all feel that way about ourselves, by the way. We should all feel like we're 1 in a million. Sure, babe, you're 1 in a million, but you're the one that has to carry your worth. He was showing you that he didn't view you at that same level from the beginning. I know it's easier said than done, but we can't make moves that contradict what we stand for, because then what's the truth? You can't say, I am 1 in a million and you treat me regular, and then continue to date the same guy that makes you feel regular for another year and a half. Like, at that point, whose fault is it? Yo, sometimes we cause our own heartbreak because Josh has been this person from day one. But she thought that she could change him. She thought that he would change for her. And he's like, this is the life that I have. These are the boundaries that I have. And this is what I can give you. And she thought that and being together longer and moving, like he would give her more. And he's like, I'm not capable of that. And that's what he tells her in this moment. He's like, you deserve everything that you want, but I can't give that to you. My life is more complicated, and maybe you would benefit from being with someone that doesn't have kids that can give you that. Someone that would start a family with you. And she tells him that she's not interested in seeing him anymore. And he's like he understood, and he's like, but I care for you. And before he could continue, she cuts him off and she's like, I know that you don't love me. And he says, I like you a lot. And I just think that it's so loud that he doesn't say, I love you. He says, I like you a lot. I have, I care for you. But he doesn't say, I love you or I have love for you. If you rewatch their episodes, you'll hear that he's very intentional with how he says that. So, yeah, I mean, I think that in his mind, he's probably done more than enough for someone that he's not in love with or someone that he's not fully committed to. And I think that in time, he would have probably opened himself up for that. But that's not the kind of relationship that he signed up for. And I think she had different intentions. And this is when I felt really bad for Natalie because she's just sitting in front of him, defeated, crying. And she's like, maybe I need to be satisfied with the love that I do have in my life, my friends, my family. Because she's like, men just bring me pain. And that sucks that that has been her experience. And maybe if she gets some help, she'll have tools to better navigate that. Because I don't think it's just the men. I think it's also like the men that we choose, the way that we function in those relationships. I think it's a lot. And this is only affirmed for me when she's like, Josh made me feel weak. I felt weak when I was in love with him, and I need someone that's going to heal me. And I think that in itself is the problem. I don't know. I just don't think that's what relationships are for. Relationships can be healing, but they can't be, in my opinion, the ultimate source of healing. So I don't know. I would love to know what you guys think about that, but I think that that's part of the issue too. He does hug him goodbye, and it's so interesting because in turn, Josh feels really bummed because he feels like he wasn't enough. He feels like he's been transparent about what he can give and it wasn't enough. He's like, I gave her what I had. And again, he recalls all the things that he's done for her. Not in a way of like, I'm throwing it in your face, but in a way of like, I did do something. I did try. And y'all, I know she's crying, but I could not stop laughing when I saw her crying and hugging that tree. Like, why is she hugging that tree like that? But on top of the heartbreak for Josh, I think that in this moment, she's also like, dang, I really moved to California for a man and I don't have anybody. I don't have him. I don't have friends. It's just me and my mom in this city that I know no one in. So that is also a daunting thing. And she's just crying in this parking lot of this restaurant. And that's where we leave off with Natalie. So move on to the next, to Debbie and Ruben. And it's a little lighter here. Ruben decides to bring Debbie to his home, which he shares with his parents. Actually, the caretaker for his parents. So Debbie is really nervous because she's like, oh my God, I'm going to meet the family already. It's the dad. He's really nice. And they go to the yard and Debbie's like, oh, where's your mom? Is she sleeping? And Ruben tells us that his mom actually has cancer and she had a bad reaction the night before. So she was actually in the hospital. And Debbie was like, oh, wait, your mom is in the hospital? You didn't have to spend the day with me going around. And he was like, nope, my mom encouraged me to go. And Debbie was like smitten because even in this really tough time, he was able to make time for her and make it special. So Ruben decided to move back in with his parents after his mother was diagnosed with cancer because he's like, life is short. I want to be able to be of service to them until their last day. And he's committed to taking care of them and living his life there. So he's really direct with Debbie. He's like, listen, if we decide to get serious, I know that you live in Georgia, but I would be living here. So we would have to start our life here together. And I didn't take that as him being presumptuous. I would love to hear what you think, but I love that he was direct and set clear expectations of like, don't think that I'm gonna go to Georgia because like I have roots planted here. Like as long as my parents are here, I gotta take care of them. And I just love that directness. She's like, let's see how it goes. I want to take this slowly. I've been one to jump in too fast before, and I'm just like, Debbie, this grown man cannot be compared to Osama. Be serious. But at the same time, I'm like, Debbie is retired. She has her really nice home in Georgia. Her kids are close by. I don't know how realistic it would be for her to move with Ruben. I think it would come down to her. I think it would really come down to what her priority is. If it's love or if it's to just live the life that you want without a romantic partner. But I mean, Miami is not as far as Morocco, so I think whatever decision she chooses is fine. Now let's go to Greece, where Chantel is still at. I feel like Chantel has been in Greece for a million years. Been at the yummy Greek guy's hometown for a few days now. Um, and she's smitten, but she has 2 days left in the country and she wants to decide if this is a real thing or just a hookup. I think she's forcing it personally. And this segment only proved that. So he invited her and the crew to this harvest festival in town. They arrive and it is packed. It looks so fun. And they're seated in like this family style table. And so the main event is snail. It's served as a delicacy. And so he's like, yeah, snail. And Chantel's face when she heard that was that of a toddler that's a picky eater. She was not trying to conceal what she was thinking. To the point that I was like, you're being rude. You are a grown ass woman. Like, get it together. Also, for the girl that keeps saying she wants an international love affair, you can't be making faces at people's cultural dishes. And she was making faces as he was describing it, and you could see like the ick happening in real time. Because she was just like, do I have to eat that? Like, it was so awkward. And he was just like, are you for real? But anyway, this place is packed. Like I said, this was family style. His friends were there as well. So, they were drinking, they were talking. Chantel is just making faces at the food. And then she starts acting a little annoyed because he's not all over her. She's expecting him to be super affectionate like they were on the beach. But this is clearly a different setting. And so she tells him, she's like, you're supposed to kiss me. And he's like, and he ends up kissing her, but it's not like a makeout. She goes to her friend and she's like, I got a weak kiss. And it just felt so juvenile. I'm like, there's no way that you are a grown woman acting like this. If if you guys thought that or if you guys thought something different, can you let me know in the comments? Because I love Chantel and I was very annoyed with her behavior. It felt like she kept looking for signs in his behavior instead of just asking him directly what was going on or if she felt a shift. So instead, she just kept complaining and whining like she was a teenager. I just didn't like it. Also, this is what happens when you try to force a relationship out the club. This was just supposed to be a hookup. This is supposed to be your post divorce, get the D, go back home, and heal yourself. So for you to try to make a relationship out of a rebound is forcing it, sis. And she's forcing it in this table because she's trying to have a deep conversation. And again, this place is packed. It's like this is an outdoor festival, and Chantel is trying to force a conversation with this man who looks like he's a little drunk. She's like, do you think that we have chemistry? Yeah, we have chemistry, but I also like to take things slow. And with us, it's a bit difficult. I think he's referring to the fact that she's not from there, that she, lives abroad. Things are naturally a bit sped up, and that's probably outside of his comfort zone. So he's mingling with his friends because, again, this place is packed. And Chantel feels away. She's like, he's not giving me the attention that he was giving me before. He's not showing me off like I'm his woman. And she tells her friend, she goes, I'm tired of this one-sided effort. And she's like, I don't think he likes me anymore. And I'm just like, Chantel, go put on clown makeup because this is clownery. This is clownery. And I'm going to leave it at that. Let's move on to the next. The last single that we're covering today is John. And John is in the car with Meg, and it is tense, okay? This is post dinner with Patrick and Thais, where they basically told Meg that John is a big child that cannot be a father to her current child or to any in the future. And this is not what Meg wanted to hear. Obviously, all of this is a lot to process, but I think for her, she wants to figure out if having no kids, if he has a hard no on that, because if that's the case, that's a deal breaker. And so they go out for a drink just on their own, and she's hesitant to bring it up because it's already been such a rough night, but it's her last night there, so she's like, F it, I'm gonna just ask. And she's like, where do you stand on that? Like, do you think that that's possible to change? And he's like, yeah, I think that I'm open to change on that. I just need some time. And that could be possible, but I'm also afraid that he's just saying that because he doesn't want to lose her. And Meg is being such a trooper about it. She's like, I'm going to be patient and I'm going to give you time on that. But what needs a bit of a timeline is when you're going to move. She's like, I don't really see the point in doing this long distance. Like, we're missing out on so many moments. John is like, I don't really want to be forced. I don't want to deal with ultimatums, especially not after tonight, which I think is a cop-out. I think that it's something that they're going to have to talk about, and it's one thing that Meg is not going to back down from. Don't think she's going to give him a lot of time to figure that one out. I think it's very important for her that they start living together and starting their life, and so I would tread carefully on that if I were John. And so the day for Meg to go back home has arrived, and John is so bummed about just how the trip has gone. It literally has gone terribly. His brother literally threw him under the bus. He feels like they made him out to not be marriage material, and he's already feeling like a little bit of distance from Meg. All she keeps saying is that she has a lot to process, and she does. He's not leaving on the best terms because he's like, I love you, I want you, you know that I want this. I just can't deal with deadlines, timelines. And she's like, I hope you can reflect on that. It was icy. It was kind, but it was icy. It definitely gave the undertones of this is a threat. Get it together. Meg is not playing with these games. She's a grown woman and she needs a grown man, and I understand her, and I also feel for John. John is like, no one believes in me. No one is believing in what I'm saying. Megan is crying because she's like, this is very scary for me. Like, I'm already putting so much of myself. It took a lot for me to leave my daughter to come here. So I need to know that, like, you are willing to do the same. And he's like, I'm scared. And it's like, she has a lot more to lose than you, so you need to get it right or she's gone. She wants this to work. You can see that she wants it to work, but she's not going to waste her time. And when they're hugging each other goodbye, she looks just out of it in the eyes. And I'm like, I think she's already disconnecting, but not because she doesn't love him, but because she wants to protect herself. She's bracing herself for the inevitable if he doesn't get it together. So yeah, John, it's now or never. Like, what are you waiting for? You have nothing tying you to Las Vegas except your fears. Your family is close enough that you can visit, but the promise of love and a new family is at your reach, and you are just this close to losing it. So yeah, that's this week's recap. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments about all these relationship fallouts that are happening. What side are you on? Which side did I miss? Let's talk about it in the comments. Please do like and share and all that yummy stuff. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.